Welcome back to my WIXOSS May ceremony 2022 journey. There have been two games that have not been recorded, unfortunately, due to whatever was going on with my recording software. Quick recap: my round four match was the Wolf Mirror match, which I was able to win, as I mentioned in the recap video. Round five was another Card Jockey mirror. So again, Lion Center, basically equivalent to what we're facing now. This is round six, so this is another Card Jockey mirror with Lion Center. Um, and then, of course, as I mentioned, the next round is yet another Card Jockey mirror with Lion Center. So a lot of I know supposedly there was not a whole lot of Card Jockey decks as opposed to other ones. I mean, it seemed a relatively even distribution between Card Jockey, No Limit, Diagram, and Uchu. Somewhat even distributions between the four of those, but if you ask me, it's all Card Jockey all the time because I saw five of them and I also was playing one. So, pretty standard stuff so far. My opponent has the first turn. He goes into a VJ Wolf Laser. He puts out a Zhao. He is unable to fill his lanes, which is good for me because it allows me to swing in open lanes without actually using any of my resources. Especially now that he has a Zhao that I know for sure my Lovett will be have a nice target for on my second turn. Um, I opt to go into Lion Dig myself. So my opening hand in this one, it was okay, not great. Two servants, Parajulis, Amino Acid, and Eternal Influence. So a lot of removal and stuff. Um, I do want to keep the servants in this matchup because I know I'm going to need them. So, if at all possible, especially given the fact that he's left a lane open, I really want to make sure I can take advantage of that. So, thankfully, I was able to dig into a Pandata. I play Parajulis, so I was able to fill my lanes the way I need to. We'll move into our attacks. PRJ, so nothing there. And then Arquin. So we dodged the bullet on that one, thankfully. Another reason why trying to squeeze that extra damage in is helpful. So he is able to discard a servant to guard my Elric attack. But the fact that I've swung in two open lanes, done two damage, spent no removal options, dodged an Arcwind life burst, feeling pretty good so far. Again, I'm on a four-game winning streak right now, so I'm feeling pretty good from a just a general like gameplay vibes. That the first match that I had, that really things kind of fell apart. At this point, it feels more like an anomaly. Which at the beginning of the tournament, I was like, "Oh crap, have I made a terrible decision in playing this deck?" But given how well I'm doing right now, I'm feeling pretty confident in my abilities here. Plus, again, so much Card Jockey. Like I've spent the last three out of the last four games facing Card Jockey already, and won all of those matches. Again, one of them was a Wolf, so it's a little different, but getting a lot of experience. Plus, again, it's a deck that I'm by far the most familiar with in the meta right now. So I know what its pitfalls are. I know how to navigate around it, that type of thing. So feeling pretty good so far. He lances my Panda, which is pretty standard play, and then he lances the Parajulis. He opts to go into he's playing Love It Scratch times two, which if you're not familiar with that, it costs an enter. It's main phase timing, and you have to discard a card, and it gives one of your Signy Double Crush. So I if it didn't discard a card from your hand, I would use it. I would prefer it over the original Scratch. The fact that it discards a card from your hand, I'm not a fan of it. For the most part, Gauche is a whiff because he doesn't have a 7K. Amino Acid is actually really nice right now. It'll save a damage and enter charge me. Um, Going back to the Love It discussion, um, I if you think about it in a vacuum, the only situation where scratch times two is better is if you're in this situation. It actually happens to be good if you're able to actually clear out all three of your opponent's lanes with like Lancelot type effects, because that will give you an extra damage and it'll push you, it'll accelerate you through to the end game. So in this situation, it actually is better. Overall, I feel like Scratch is better because you're not always going to be in a situation where you can, play two Lancelots and clear your opponent's board the way that he has done. So really, at the end of the day, you're basically paying an enter and a card in your hand to get one extra damage, which is exactly what um, the original Scratch will do anyway, except you get it for free. So it's basically, I mean, this is exactly the scenario where Scratch times two is better, and even still, I still prefer the original Scratch just because it doesn't cost anything, neither enter nor discarding. Um, Especially in a Wolf build, because I mentioned this in the recap that Wolf tends to struggle with card draw late game. So discarding a card to do a damage when you could potentially have gotten that damage in for free anyway. Because you could always just wait a turn, and banish something 10k or less for free with Love It type of thing. So I fill up the board. We've got Kiyosumi, we've got two Parajulis, and we've got Heterophony. So we are hitting on all cylinders right now. This is exactly the situation I want to be in. It's turn two. My Parajulis are both turned on. I have all the enter in the world to make it happen. I'm going to scratch to vanish the Lancelot in the center so that my Kiyosumi can come in undeterred, and then my Parajulis will also be able to swing in for damage. Once we get there, assuming that no life burst or anything happen or no interaction, that type of stuff. So I'm pretty sure I moved to combat. I think he's deciding whether or not to grow into an assist. Another good thing is that he's only at 3 enter. Even though, like, I'm potentially swinging in a full board, he only has 3 enter. So if he wants to crossfade, he doesn't have the option to crush us off, which is exactly what he does. He goes into crossfade here, which I do not fault him at all for doing that. It's hard to, I feel like in this situation, Kiyosumi is the one you want to get rid of here, which he does. At least force me to pay the enter to remove your stuff. So Parajulis comes in. We'll pay for it. And he's able to down my other one. I think that downs that. That may actually return to hand. Or maybe it prevents it from attacking. That's what it does. Sorry, that's one of the newer cards. So he's able to save a damage that way. A little unfortunate. It would have been nice to cash in on that extra damage. He flips into another one, which at this point doesn't matter because I have no signing left. So despite the fact that he went first, he's probably going to punchline here. I still feel like I'm in a pretty good position. I've talked about my infatuation with MC Lion Disrespect, the fact that it turns off an entire board if you need it to. I also have the option to crossfade. I mean, I have so much enter right now. I can crossfade, crush a cloth, and leave him at 2. Basically, potentially swinging in for lethal with just the punchline, and or still have option future code. Lot of options still in my future. The fact that he's hurting a little bit on cloth. So he grows into lion. Oh, I just noticed that his other Signy is a Zhao, so I would not have been able to Parajulis that. So ultimately, he actually the life burst didn't actually save him any damage because I may not have attacked in with that anyway. Plays a good dig. Not shocking, given everything that's been going on. Either to look for servants, thin out the deck. Um, I personally am thrilled because he's down to one enter. He's already used his crossfade, so I'm assuming he has either sync or I think reverb is the new wolf, which is a pretty good. It's I think probably her best level 2 assist. But just the fact that his crossfade is off the table is it's a pretty nice relief for me personally. No idea what he grabbed there. He actually asked me if I wanted to cut his dig pile, which I thought was interesting. I just said no, it's fine, it's all good. Mostly just because I knew he was going to have to shuffle with the punchline anyway. It just seemed unnecessary at that point. Because I was assuming he was going to do it. With Lion in general, you're punching as quickly and as early as you can. This is one of the new Signy. It is a level 2. I don't remember the name of it. If you played in the center, it enter charges you one. I've thought about using that as an option to turn on Parajulis because that's something I could potentially do. The only reason I don't do it is because I really want the Kyusumis, honestly. it like the level 2 is so crowded that there's not a lot of options. Basically, I could play that. If I do play that, it would replace Lancelot, and I don't think it's worth it in that case to replace Lancelot's with something that, like, why would you try to turn on Parajulis when you can just have Lancelot that does it for cheaper type of thing? I know I've talked about how much I love Parajulis, but um, turning on Parajulis I feel like is less important than just having Lancelot's, which can kind of do it anyway. So I do like that card. The fact that it enter charges as a level 2 is great. Um, in my Wolf build specifically, I don't think it's super important. Um, just again because Lancelot is such a universally good card that it's hard to justify removing it for something like that, especially when I have all the enter in the world anyway. That the extra enter is not as important as the ease to remove life cloth here. So hard to decide what the better play is here. I go for crossfade. I'm pretty sure I have, although he has a PRJ. Well, I can crossfade the PRJ, which is I'm pretty sure what I'm doing. I think I have a couple guards in hand so that I'm not in any lethal danger right now. That once the PRJ is gone, I can guard as normal and not have to worry about losing this turn. So I clear the lane from the PRJ. I crush one of his life cloth, which is also a PRJ. So now he's down to 2, which is awesome. So I'm in a situation where I feel like I can probably kind of overrun him on my turn and go from there. So Kiyosumi comes in, which is a great option right now. So it saves the damage. It enter charges me again, which just fuels more of my stuff. He goes into the endless punchline. So we are seeing what my destiny holds. This is another situation too. This is something to think about when you're specifically playing against Lion, is that you always want to have at least one life cloth remaining. So if he flips a 3, my initial reaction is just to let it all go in and get the extra enter. But against Lion specifically, you really don't want to be at 0 life cloth because she can just once per game you, and then you're in real trouble. But if you have one extra life cloth, you can make it so that if she once per games you, you're not losing like automatically. You can, just let the damage in and guard the following turn. Yeah, you're basically slowing her down by a turn by leaving one life cloth, if that is the type. Plus, again, I've talked at length about MC Lion disrespect. If I'm at one cloth and I have MC Line Disrespect in my pocket, then I cannot lose on my next turn, basically, no matter what. So, good dig. Um, just filling up my hand, which is fine. So I take the other damage as another good dig. Those would have been nice to have earlier, um, just to fill, the board potentially, um, prevent some damage. But better than having nothing, I suppose. And then the third attack, I do guard, as I mentioned, just to dodge the lion once per game. Because with my own lion, I mean, I literally just said it, so I don't feel like I need to go over it again. But I know that I, no matter what he does on his next turn, I will be able to survive with the guard and disrespect, unless he enter burns me. And even still, I can generate enough enter potentially that if he does go to the top me, I can still have enough to get the full 5 to disrespect. So I'm deciding what to charge here. I go for a Lancelot. He's got a Zhao, so obviously I only need one Lancelot potentially. If I even go that route, I could just future code potentially here, and then I wouldn't need any removal on the board. I don't remember exactly what's in my hand. The obvious choice, I think, right here is to punchline and future code, but I don't know if the Signy I have in hand are big enough to allow for that. I need either Kyusumi or level 3s, and I don't remember if I have enough of those to get away with it. That's one of the, I mentioned this, I think, in my recap video, that Future Code's a great card, except when you're in a situation when your opponent has no life cloth. Because basically, if I get through this turn, if my opponent survives and has no cloth left, then Future Code is useless for the rest of the game because Lancer doesn't do anything if they have no life cloth left. So I opt to Eternal Influence on his Zhao, which leads me to believe that I don't have big enough Signy to get through. And there's you lance the lance, as you do. Let's see what we got. Kiyosumi I have. It's probably just Kiyosumi and then something small. If I had a second. Oh no, I had a PRJ. What am I doing? I do find a spell off of that. So, interesting play lines here. If I remember right, my logic here is that I can vanish with 2 Lancelots, or I guess with a Lancelot and a Eternal Influence. I can spend 2 enter to clear the lanes as opposed to spending 4 to future code. And in my head, that was the right play. His board is empty right now. He can only save 1 damage with Wolf, potentially. Um, maybe 2. I don't remember what reverb. If reverb save, I think you can potentially save 2 damage with reverb, but he doesn't have enough to get the full effect out of reverb. If he has sync, he can only get 1 back. Um, so in that situation, I could potentially swing in with 3 Signy, and then he'd need 3 guards to survive, assuming I hit my punchline. And additionally, I still have a PRJ on the field. So he's in a little bit of a rough situation right now. Honestly, I think that's why I went for the vanishing as opposed to the future code. Of course, the problem with that then becomes I've now given him 4 enter to actually turn on his wolf. If he had less than 4 enter, then he could not sync, and then he would have 1 less life cloth I'd have to go through. So in my head, that decision made sense to do it that way. Yeah, he does have reverb, so he's going to prevent 1 damage. So ultimately, it would not have mattered if I, didn't give him the extra enter on the vanish at the end of the day. I still think that the Lancer effect is more important, just because after this turn, the future code is a dead card because he won't have any life cloth left. So that's the only reason why. But I'm in a situation where I've got a PRJ on the field. He does have a decent amount of enter, but if I hit a 3, he's absolutely dead. If I hit a 2, he would need 2 guards and he would lose basically all of his enter. So I'm in a good enough situation that it ended up being okay. And he just sends one to the bottom, and we flip into a 2. And I know the sound is off. You can kind of see him a little bit. He is celebrating. He has 2 guards, so he is able to guard both of those attacks, and he does spend the full 4 enter. He mentioned after the game that he only had 2, so if I flip the 3, the game is just over right there. But unfortunately, I have to survive a turn. And this is again where the logic in guarding comes into play. Um, so he does have a full turn. He has his MC line once per game. It looks like I'm in not a great position right now, but again, with MC line disrespect on deck, I won't need to use MC line disrespect unless he's able to get a Signy through. I'm pretty certain he won't be able to get a Signy through unless he vanishes something. So what that means, that'll put me at 5 enter. So if he's able to vanish literally anything on the field, then disrespect is fully turned on and none of his Signy can damage me. And at that point, even if he once per games me, I won't lose because I still have 1 life cloth left. So again, even despite the fact, passing when your opponent has 0 life cloth left kind of sucks because you're like, man, I'm so close. I almost had him, that type of stuff, especially when they guarded 2 of your attacks and paid 4 enter to do it. All that stuff sucks. But I am in a pretty good position right now. And just as a little forewarning, this turn, I get it, but my opponent actually takes quite a long time on this turn. So this may be something you want to either fast forward or skip through or whatever. I understand why, because, pretty high stakes at this point. We're both 4-1 at this point. So whoever wins will be at 5-1, could potentially make top 8, with another win later on. He's trying to figure out the best way to do it. I think he probably knows I have a disrespect. So he's trying to figure out if there's a possible way to, use the cards in his deck and the cards in his hand, using everything he can to try to get through my defenses. It is worth noting, too, that I do have 2 12s on the board. I didn't think about this at the time, but it could be a situation where he potentially uses Silent Assassin and sneaks through. Although if that is the case, I could stop one of them with the disrespect and then discard 2. I'd only, if he's in a situation where he does have Silent Assassin even and can sneak through, as long as he vanishes Lancelot, which he would need to vanish Lancelot to actually swing in for lethal, I still would have enough enter to get through to survive. So knowing what I know about Card Jockey builds, I am like 80 to 90% confident that there's nothing in his deck that will let him win right now. But so I'm content to let him kind of work through it all. I'm in no hurry because I know as soon as my turn starts, I can just he has no assists left. I have a future code which is irrelevant, but I can potentially. It depends on what he plays, I suppose. But I already know he's used, I think, at least 3 of his servants. I don't remember if he's used all 4 or not. So I'm feeling extremely confident about my position because I can potentially, dig for something. If he's got something small enough, I can Parajulis it away. I have a lot of options here in terms of what I can get away with. Because additionally, if he does nothing, and he keeps my PRJ on the field, then he doesn't have enough enter to guard anyway. Although I say that, he's black saddling right now. So he does black saddle, gets the enter charge. I also don't remember what's in my hand. If I remember right, I think there's another Eternal Influence in my hand, which is another reason why I'm feeling so confident and relaxed. That even if he does clear everything away, the fact that I know he has no assists, all I need to do is draw a body, and then I can Eternal Influence, and then just swing in for lethal. So that I'm pretty sure that's why I'm also still feeling pretty good about my positioning here. I suppose it's worth mentioning again ad nauseum that MC Lion Disrespect, pretty good card because gets you out of weird situations like this where you kind of whiff your punch line a little bit. Your opponent may be able to sneak by a win, and then can't win if you're singing, can't attack me. So, and to be honest, I mentioned this in the play or in the recap video that oh, he's going to end the turn to pull a Signy back from his discard to his hand. So um, I forgot where I was going with what I was saying before. Oh, right. The arguably Wolf's single biggest benefit that she has over the other two Card Jockey centers is that she can use the assists of the other two Card Jockey centers. Like if you're using Lovett center, you lose the Lovett assists, which are very good. If you're using Lion center, you lose the Lion assists, which are arguably even better than Lovett assists. So, and Wolf assists, again, they're okay. I mean, they're nothing to write home about, I would say. They're not the kind of assists you'd run in a dream team. I guess we'll just put it that way. Whereas like MC Lion, you absolutely could run in a dream team because they're extremely powerful regardless of what your team composition is. And Love It is the same way. Like Crossfade is such a good card, especially when you're generating so much enter that you don't know what to do with it. You can spend 4 to crush a life cloth. So good. Which this deck especially focuses on, but any kind of green themed deck would do well with Crossfade. So he pulls a Lancelot back, which is not really surprising because I'm assuming he's going to try to open the lanes. Which in my head, again, as I mentioned before, all he has to do is vanish Lancelot, and then I know I'm good. Because as soon as he does that, then anything else he does is going to be negated by disrespect. So he's like, I'll grab a Lancelot, and I'm like, okay. And then in my head, I'm just like partying, I'm like celebrating. It's just a matter of what he wants to put where. So he plays. I don't remember the name of this card. This is the Harmony one, where it will allow you to gain an extra attack with your center Elrig. Basically, by paying enter and downing 2 of your up Signy, you can get an extra Elrig attack. But the downside here, again, the power of MC Lion, is that it costs enter, and he does not have enough enter to use it right now. And the fact that Lion prevents attack as opposed to vanishing, that he will not have enough enter to use that. And actually, that's something that will come into play. Because I mean, it's no spoiler that I have no way of vanishing anything he has on his field, and he doesn't have enough enter to use that right now. So he goes to Lancelot to vanish my Lancelot, as you do. Yeah, because I think the extra attack costs 3. So even if he hadn't done that, he wouldn't have had enough to use that. So we're doing a little bit of back and forth. I'm just making sure that that Signy is what I think it is. I believe he also once per game is here. Yeah, I'm having him read it out to me. Because again, the fact that I'm at 1 cloth against his once per game is like so huge. Because if otherwise, I would just be dead. Because I don't have 3 servants in my hand. Although I guess it would be only 2 now. Because he had to down his wolf. But still. So go into the disrespect. I only need to pay the 2 because there's only 1 Signy that's actually threatening any sort of damage against me. So I'll basically stop the Black Saddle from attacking. With his 1 enter, he's also now not at enough to guard against my PRJ. So I can literally do nothing and attack with my Elrig for game here, as long as I survive, which he doesn't have enough damage to do. So I don't fault him for doing it. I mean, you gotta do what you can. Hope that maybe your opponent is running something different and gives you enter and that type of stuff. So he opts to clear the lanes. I guess he could do it that way. Clear the lane from PRJ. So that's fair. And then the once per game doesn't matter. I'm fairly certain he once per game there, just because I think he was hoping to get an extra attack in with his Signy, being able to down him for to up his Elrig. That is. So I just need to find a damage somewhere. I don't remember what's in my hand exactly. I'm like I said, I'm pretty sure I have an Eternal Influence in there. That it just doesn't matter. Because all I need to do is banish anything. I have all the enter in the world, and I can get 4 more if I need to. There's PRJ, so yeah, I mean, he won't be able to guard my Elrig attack anyway. I grab a dig as if I need it. It's still worth going through the motions like this, just to be in situations where, again, this game I feel like it's basically a given at this point. Yeah, there's the Eternal Influence. So I just banished the Lance. Um, it may be a little bit of slow playing, but again, the match is basically over at this point. Yeah, he just scoops it up. So good game to my opponent. This will put me at 5-1 on the day. I will go into round 7, potentially on the cusp of top 8. As I mentioned before, I did not get the recording of that game, unfortunately. It was another Card Jockey mirror. I was not able to get away with the win there. My opponent he was a very skilled player, so he was just able to kind of outpace me at that point. That was a game. It felt like there wasn't a whole lot I could do at that point. It could have been RNG. Yeah, it's hard to know without having the playback, but he pretty much handily had me the whole game. That wasn't it. I'm not gonna act like it was cool and I was like really close to winning. He pretty much had control of over the whole game. There wasn't a whole lot I could do about it, so I didn't feel bad losing there. Plus 5-2. I mean, top 32, you get to play Matt, so I was pretty happy about that as well, considering my previous showing. But anyway, thanks for tuning into all the videos. Hope it gave you some insights into running BJ Wolf. I think it's a really consistent build. It's a lot more entertaining to play, at least for me, than Lion was. So at least in the foreseeable future, that's what I will be sticking with. So if you have any questions about the build or you want to talk about it or whatever, shoot me a comment message, whatever. And thanks for watching.